Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, Spectre of Nightingale 9999, Marks and Aerith Winterfell. Welcome, welcome. Alrighty, Rue. Well, this is a bit of an unorthodox stream today, but recently our writing group had a you are pink on my screen, but you're very green on how do I differentiate? They're both on my screen, but the one that's in the recording is pink, and the one actually like in the chat is green. Yeah, I know. I don't think I've actually ever seen your full name, or your full Twitch username, so I wanted to say it. But yes, our writing group had a Valentine's event recently. And my own story was too long for the event. But I did still really want to read it. I'm really proud of it, and I wanted to share it with people. And also, I got some discouragement for this story, and so I also just would really like some encouragement if you are able and willing to give that. So what I'm going to be doing is just reading through the full story, not stopping, and you guys can comment while I am reading. So it'll basically be just like any other writing group stream where I read the story, I say my thoughts or questions, and then I read your thoughts and questions. I don't know, maybe I'll read yours before I do mine this time. I don't know. But because it's so long, I wanted to make sure I had a pinned comment about that like, we're gonna be here for a hot minute actually reading the story. But do not hesitate to say what you think while I am reading. I might go through some of my questions and notes before I start, but I'm particularly interested in hearing what jokes made you laugh. So if there's a joke that worked for you, please note it after I say it. If there are just any other lines in general that really worked, just let me know while I say them. Yeah, just any specific comments that you have for specific parts, say them when I say the specific parts, and I will come back to that. I will scroll up. Yeah. So yeah, let's look at my notes. Usually I would save the notes for last, but in this case, I think I want to read some of them ahead of time. Maybe I'll try and, well, I was gonna say maybe I'll try and put them on screen, but some are spoilers and I'll have to, like, avoid them. But I have some content warnings, which are, well, actually, I'll just show you. I have some content warnings on screen, but if you are not somebody who is easily triggered, then don't go don't go check the post for the other ones, because they're spoilers. But even though there's a lot of content warnings for it, this is a very comedic story, or at least that's what I intended. Though some folks here in the chat have already read it, so you can let me know if I succeeded in overall making it comedic, or if it overall feels more like a drama. So, this story is a massive labor of love. I've been working on it for many years. The document says it was created May 5th, 2022, but I'd venture to guess I started writing it in a Word document before, maybe years before. This event was the final push I needed to get it completed and posted. Because it has been such a labor of love, for many years I didn't want to even attempt... That phrasing is off. Because it has been such a labor of love for so many years, I didn't want to even attempt to cut it down to the limit. I think it was at around 8,000 when I took a look at it before editing it, adding to it, polishing it to post. I did not expect to add that much. I felt like so much of the story and its heart would be lost if I did. I'd rather have people be able to read it in its entirety here in text than read a butchered version on stream. But because I am the streamer, I have made an executive decision to still read it just on its own bonus stream. If anyone is able and willing to stick with me for this many words, I dearly thank you. Also, I didn't intend the number to be that even. It was 9,996 when I was gearing up to post, and I was like, I'm so close. I can find somewhere to add 4 words to make it an even 10,000. And those 4 words, I can tell you, are... I think it was this. It was one of these, but I think it's that one. Note, because I've spent 3+ years working my butt off to make this story the best it can be, I am really not looking for critiques on it. Of course, if something is really wrong with it, then I don't want you to just stuff it down and not say it. You can say critiques, but they must be sandwiched with praise. I have worked so freaking hard on it. Aside from maybe a couple tweaks or typos, this is my final completed draft. Treat it like you're reading a published story more than reading your friend's rough draft. If you have more critiques than praise, then please don't comment on it. So I don't know if there's anything else to add to that, but yeah. Usually I am more than happy to receive, well, maybe not more than happy, but usually I am willing, at least, to receive more critiques and stuff like that. But this one, I really am looking for that golden toast. And like I said, you don't have to just completely avoid saying any critiques at all, especially if you're like, oh, this really bugs me. But like I said, I've been working for 3+ years on it, just trying to perfect it, and spent so much time not posting it. Like, I could have posted it years ago, and I didn't, because I was trying to get it perfect. And so it's especially hard to hear critiques on this one, because it's like, I just spent 3 years making it perfect, and so then to hear it's not perfect is especially hurtful. Especially if it's not perfect, but rather like there's a bunch of things wrong with it. So that is why I would really like that praise, that golden toast. This story was inspired by 2 things. More than anything, the song St. Valentine by Jade Bates. So you know I love holidays, but we don't get a lot of songs solely focused on Valentine's Day. However, we do get a lot of love songs, and while I enjoy romance, I get sick of every pop song either being a love song or a breakup song. Honestly, most genres, really, not just pop. Imagine my delight when I listen to this song, and not only is it directly about Valentine's Day, it's not a love song. Plus, it just sounds good, at least to me. I don't know if I'm interpreting it as intended, but I don't interpret this song as someone who simply thinks Valentine's Day sucks and that's it. Kitty! My goodness. I interpret it as someone who's bitter. She wants somebody to love. She wants to love Valentine's Day, but she feels like Cupid left her behind. So those are the vibes I went for in this story. Sometimes songs make me think of my characters. Sometimes when I love a song, I want to use it as a prompt for my characters, regardless on if I initially thought of them. It has been many years since I got this idea, but I think I love the song enough to want to use it as a prompt, but it would not work for them in the canon world, so I decided to make it an AU. The second thing that has inspired this story is the book and movie Before I Fall. I'm sure there are Valentine's Day movies out there, but I haven't seen a lot of them myself. I'm also sure that most of them are love and or sex stories, probably why I haven't seen many. The book and movie Before I Fall is a Groundhog Day type story. Samantha Kingston is a high school girl who gets into a car accident, dies, and wakes up reliving the day of the accident. Over the course of reliving the day, she comes to realize that she and her friends are bullies, why the accident happened in the first place, and what she needs to do about it. The day she relives, Valentine's Day. Yeah, okay, it's not actually Valentine's Day. It's February 12th, which is a Friday, and is called Cupid Day at her school. I really do not know why the author did not just make it Valentine's Day, even if Valentine's Day is a Sunday the year she wrote it. There is a love story in it, which I greatly enjoy, but is definitely not the crux of the story. So it's kind of my go-to Valentine's Day celebration movie / book to rewatch or reread at the time. And I think part of what makes me love it for Valentine's Day is that it's not focused on a love story. Rather, it focuses on all sorts of loves. Romantic and sexual love, yes, but also love of friends, love of family, and sacrificial love. And it's just a great story. I highly recommend. The book is, of course, way better. you think it would be spoilers that was inspired by the story, but no, it's actually the Valograms. In that story, they can buy roses with little notes on them for Cupid Day. How many you get is a popularity marker. Sam's sucky boyfriend writes a sucky note to go with his rose. The guy she later realizes she's actually in love with gives her one that's special colors and draws a silly little comic for her. And that stuff in my story was definitely inspired by this. Spoilers. And then to a lesser extent, a fanfic that I wrote, a Black Butler Harry Potter crossover. That was very wild. It was I think a crack fic, or like a crack-ish fic, where Undertaker spikes the punch at a party with a love potion, and then a bunch of people who should not be in love are now in love. And so that story is just like over the top Valentine's Day, and CL is not having it, and so that's kind of the atmosphere of this story. It was inspired by that. There's other notes too, but I feel like I've done enough setup. Let's see if there's any other questions I want to ask ahead of time.
Kitty. What? Oh no.
Yeah, I don't think I need to ask any of the other questions, but yes. So it's actually rather cool because after this was making me think about, actually I'll go grab it for you. I'll show you. That's what the book looks like, or at least what my copy looks like. So it's funny because after I was writing this story and writing those notes, I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, like, it's Valentine's Day, I'm thinking about it, I really want to reread that book. And so I did, and literally last night I finished reading the last chapter. So that's kind of perfect that this is when I'm reading this to you all. That name was sadly already taken on Twitch. Oh, just Spectre. Yeah, that does make sense. It would be a coveted name. And Mark says, I would definitely say it's comedic in tone. Nice. And Mako says hello. Alrighty-roo. Well, I think and hope that those are all the notes I want to say ahead of time. So let's get started. So we're getting started at 4:24. Let's see how long it takes to read this one. Buckle up, sit back, buckle up, get your hot chocolate, your popcorn, whatever you want. And as I said, don't hesitate to make comments while I read. I will see them after. All right. The magic is missing. The Ballad of the Monsters, Savion, High School AU. By I prefer the term antihero / Kaylie. 10,000 words. Content warning. Swearing, car accident. It's described poetically and overfast. Discussions of death, jokes about suicide, sexual harassment. 2 more that are spoilers. Check the post if you want to see them. Wisteria was singing. That's pretty. I smiled. Where'd you learn that?
Didn't.
She kicked her feet in that way kids do when they have nothing in the world to worry about.
Made it up.
She started singing again, and once I got a feel for it, I sang with her. We finished with a crescendo of giggles. How'd your karate lessons go? I asked.
Awesome. I gotta punch Sam.
Always a good day when you get to punch someone. Your sister will be proud. A pause. When do you think punching was invented? I looked over to see her giving me a funny look.
I don't think it was invented. It's not like a light bulb.
Well, someone was the first guy to punch someone. Imagine being that guy. Do you think people would think you're a badass or hate you?
Pastor Greg would say that guy was probably Cain, and people seem to hate him.
Well, we don't know if he punched Abel before he killed him, do we?
I guess not.
I think if I wanted to kill my brother, I'd just shank him. No punching required. Once it left my mouth, the idea made me feel sick. Not that I never do that. I swerved a little too wide, and the guy behind me honked. Yeah, fuck you too, I muttered. She giggled again.
You know you're not supposed to use bad words around me.
I'm not supposed to do a lot of things, I murmured. Besides, what makes them bad? Everyone thinks fuck is a criminal, but personally, I think he's just your average Joe doing his best.
So, bitch is just a girl who wants to find love?
Now you're getting it.
You're gonna stay at my house for dinner, right?
I thought of having dinner at my house. Correction, my foster mother's house. I hope so, I breathed. I didn't see the car until it was too late. A second, split in half. The skidding of tires, the crunch of metal, the shattering of glass, the color of red. I was screaming. She wasn't. I didn't hear my alarm this morning, which meant when Victor, my adoptive father, came in to ask what was taking me so long, I didn't have time to brush my anything. I had to put on the nearest clothes I could find, the ones I wore yesterday, which probably stunk, but I didn't want to check. And I didn't realize until I got into the car, you know your shirt's inside out, right? Peter, Victor's biological son, raised an eyebrow at me. I looked down to find it, in fact, was. I groaned, took it off, and put it back on right. Hopefully I could manage that much, at least. Rough morning? Victor chuckled to the rear-view mirror. I turned to the window, resting my elbow at the base, putting my face in my hand, my breath fogging up the glass. Yup.
I'm sure your day will get better as it goes on.
My brother, Lestaire, chirped from the front seat. He called shotgun first today.
It's Valentine's Day, after all.
My elbow slid off. It is. I took out my phone, and there, February 14th, stared at me from my lock screen. I mushed my face against the cold glass. Oh, great. What was that? Victor asked. I said, oh, great. It didn't sound like that to me. Peter smirked. I glared at him.
Your morning is so bad you forgot what day it is?
Lestaire laughed. No doubt he woke up to countless texts wishing him a happy Valentine's Day, sending him hearts, kisses, well wishes, and other compliments. And here I was, with a phone that couldn't even have the courtesy of waking me up at the right time, let alone giving me any texts, about to walk into school looking like the rat the cat left on the doorstep, covered in slobber, half torn apart, but still twitching. Yep. It's okay, Victor chuckled. Last year I forgot Talk Like a Pirate Day. All of us silently agreed not to mention that that was, in fact, a blessing. That's not quite the same, I murmured. When we arrived at school, red heart balloons were positioned like guards outside the doors. We always showed up early since our dad was a teacher, but that didn't give us peace and quiet. As we walked inside, we were shown a lovely showcase of couples giving each other chocolates and diseases. A number of people asked each other to the dance last minute, too. Right. That was happening today. You'd think all the posters would have kept the date firmly glued in my brain. I would, surprise, surprise, not be going. I didn't need to watch people dancing badly, leaving enough room to squish Jesus, hear bad pop music played too loudly, smell spiked punch, taste mediocre snacks, and get called names for not joining in. Things were bad enough during the school day. I didn't need to see the boys looking like sweaty little penguins waddling around, trying to find a mate, while the girls that did their own mating ritual, twirling in red dresses that showed just enough boob to escape chastisement, but still make the penguins squawk. Just the image made me want to vomit. I was much better staying home, having the house to myself. I could play my own music at a proper volume, and if I danced, Jesus would have plenty of room. I could wear comfortable clothes, drink unspiked hot chocolate, and taste decent snacks without anyone pressuring or insulting me. See you guys after lunch. We'll be dissecting hearts today. Victor winked at me. As I opened my locker, A few of the couples whispered and snickered, just because I didn't open it to find sirens blaring, "Will you go to the dance with me?" in it. Just because I opened my locker to find there weren't any gifts, Valentines, or well wishes in it. The stair walked up to his locker. I know I'm gonna regret asking, but what's wrong with Valentine's Day? Oh, I don't know. The assault of helium, sugar, and pheromones on the senses. The fact that Cupid's a sadistic bastard. How about the fact that it just gives me a reason to... The stairs locker puked Valentine's onto the floor. I pressed my head against the inside of mine. That's why. Nothing. I lifted my head. You heard me earlier. I said, it's great. He narrowed his eyes and pursed his lip. I sighed. I understand the tradition, but this day isn't magic. I stepped closer. It could be, sometimes, in the past. But now... Come on, what did you expect? Peter put his hand on my shoulder. Your brother is what we call an... He pretended to look for a word. Edgelord. My eyes lidded. Funny. I thought that's what you were. Edgelord, he snorted. I'm the glass clown. More like the old glass circus. The stare grinned, and Peter winked at him. You proclaimed after school yesterday, rather loudly and angstily, I might add, that there was no justice in the world. I argued. I wanted ice cream, and there wasn't any left. His voice suddenly grew very passionate. Just because I was in detention. I stand by my claim. He folded his arms over his chest. Uh-huh. I folded my arms over my chest in return. And why were you in detention? Billy Hannigan's a mother trucker. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, this was his fault. It definitely wasn't because you filled his locker with elephant toothpaste. Well, he took on a fake nerdy voice. That was the direct cause, but not the true cause. He dropped the voice. My little prank might have been the immediate reason I was sent to detention, but Hannigan's mother truckerness was the true reason. I rolled my eyes. Peter sighed in a fake way. The sad truth of it is, he patted my shoulder, I have friends. I have my edges, but with friends by my side, I don't scream edgelord to the world so loudly. Yes, you're lost boys. You really need to stop calling them that. People think you're in a gang. It doesn't help that that Dennis guy might actually be in a gang. You don't even know him. He's a very tender soul. Yesterday he read me his poetry. Heartfelt stuff. Plus he's good at tennis. Dennis, the menace at tennis. I glared down at him, exhaling a breath. You proud of yourself? He gave me a shit-eating grin. In general. I sloughed him off my shoulder and slammed my locker harder than necessary. Is that the sad slamming of lockers I hear? It was Moirai's voice. Just who we needed to brighten up the morning, the stare proclaimed. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Is everyone here? We all nodded, grunted, and otherwise said yes. She set her bag down beside Lema, her service dog, and after digging into it, pulled out a bunch of little, slightly crumpled valentines. Disperse those amongst yourselves, she said, fanning out her hands, and we found the correct ones. I told my dad what I wanted to write down. If they say, I'm watching you, or something about elephant toothpaste, that's all on him. Dr. Threadgold's sickeningly perfect handwriting was indeed staring back at me in gold. I couldn't tell if the fact that he had to write, I love you, Alotl, and draw a picture of an axolotl was more embarrassing for him or for me. Thanks. Aw, the stare hugged her. I think you're beautiful, too. That feels like less of a compliment coming from a blind girl. I muttered. Hey, Mo shouted. He has a beautiful soul, and considering how popular he is, I assume his face is nice to look at, too. The stare blushed, smiling sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. I'll admit it. Your dad can draw a decent crocodile. Peter fanned himself with it. Good to know. Well, I couldn't let you guys go Valentine's-less on Valentine's Day. Especially Mr. Grumpy Gus over here. She elbowed Peter. I think you mean the other one. Peter pulled her hand over to me. I'm Pranky Petey. I appreciate the sentiment. I patted her head. Could do without the condescension, though. It's a 2-for-1 deal. She clicked her teeth. Buy a Valentine, give free condescension. I didn't buy anything. You bought it with your friendship. though in Lester's first classes were in the opposite hall. So, slipping the Valentines into our bags and pockets, Peter and I waved to them and walked down our hallway. The familiar halls had become a minefield. A huge pile of balloons blocking our view, a huger teddy bear ready to trip people, a banner asking Ashley Smith to the dance, blocking the entrance to the language classroom, and the teacher yelling at Paris to take it down. If the principal made it down here, he would assuredly also start yelling about latex and wasted paper. But there was one mine I forgot about. Before we made it to my class, I saw, in a usually unused room, a table full of roses. Right. Jenna perked up when she saw us. Correction. She perked up when she saw me. So she remembered. Great. I walked faster. It wasn't long before I felt a tap on my shoulder. Wait, Savion, don't you want to... I turned to her, glancing at onlookers, and shook my head. Her face fell. Are you sure? You always... I decided not to do it this year, I muttered to her, trying to ignore the snickering around us. Oh, She looked around us. Okay, well, I'll be right over there if you change your mind. She pointed behind her and started heading back. Peter raised an eyebrow. You always... I kept walking. What, you want a medal in meddling? Yeah, I got silver last year. Going for gold. I rolled my eyes and kept walking. Come on. He sped up to catch up. I'm just curious. Good. A little curiosity is healthy for a growing boy like you. Who do you always get a flower? Drop it, I grunted. I'm not a dog. Well, then get the subject out of your mouth. But it's so fun to hear you squeak. He poked me. I slapped his hand away. Mercifully, I arrived at my class. See you at lunch? He elbowed me and winked. Lover boy. If I'm not dead by then, I muttered, opening the door, trying not to cough as I inhaled a whiff of perfume. A shame, he called, walking backwards. What do you want in your tombstone? The greatest edgelord in the land. Loved by some, hated by most, killed by romance overload. Nope, I muttered, entering. It'd be a suicide. As I walked into my own class, more balloons, boobs, and banners greeted me. Sally was sitting on Hamish's lap. Julie was feeding Jason chocolates. Tim seemed a little too interested in his textbook. Right, Valentine's Day. Soulmates and never-ending stories. I'm just gonna sit pretty and watch it all fall apart. Because it would. In April, these canoodling couples would be sending each other threats instead of flowers. There was no reason for me to be an edgelord. Besides, this just wasn't my thing. I like flowers just fine, but would be embarrassed to find a bouquet in my locker. I did like chocolates, but the Valentine's boxes were a crapshoot as to when you'd hit a fruit-filled one. And as for the other stuff, kissing, hugging, other assorted touchings, that was better without. I shouldn't be so judgy. Tara looked up from her card and gave me a pitying little smile. I folded my arms and sunk into my chair. Don't pity me. You can keep your stupid cards. Fuck Cupid. And I don't mean in a sexual way. I don't need somebody to love. I didn't get any relief from my classes. Mr. Clerval decided to read about Shakespeare's best love stories and discuss writing a proper romance. Poison started to sound like not such a bad way to go. In Latin, we were studying Catullus. Granted, we'd been reading his poetry in class for several lessons now. But the man's pining was a bit much for today. Our math teacher refused to acknowledge there was anything different about today from yesterday. Too bad that's the one class I would have rather done something useless in. But it was history that took the metaphorical cake. I'm glad nobody brought an actual cake. Miss Fay taught us about St. Valentine. Now that part was fine. Interesting, even. But just when she was about to tell us about his death, Jenna and her crew came around with the flowers. Which would have been just another annoyance to add to the pile if it weren't for who was in this class. Most of the girls got full bouquets, either from a plethora of different people or just one. Some smiled softly at their single flower. The ones that didn't get any looked like they wanted to sink into their hoodies and fizzle into nothing. Most of the guys got a couple, except for Brennan, whose desk was covered in them. The girls giggled and grinned, smelled them, looked at the notes, while the boys tried not to smile. I couldn't count all the flowers in the room, but I think Lanai's bouquet was the biggest. She beamed and thanked the girl who gave them to her, going about reading little notes that came attached to them. But once she was finished, she looked around the room and I think I was just imagining things. I got exactly 5, and I knew exactly who they were from. Oh, wait, correction. I got exactly 5, and I knew who 4 were from. I read the notes, and it confirmed the 4, but the 5th note was a drawing of me, and it looked a lot like... That couldn't be. People were distracted, but Miss Fay brought us back to the topic by putting artistic and artistically brutal renditions of St. Valentine's murder on the projector. She seemed to enjoy the violence of it a little too much. Then she glossed over the fact that he might not have been a real person, and he almost certainly wasn't the reason this holiday was oversaturated with romance, before the bell rang. Wanting to avoid crowds, couples, and people in general, I took my time, waiting for everyone else to file out of the classroom, asking more questions about the lesson. Turns out Chaucer was the reason this day became what it was. Though Lanai was interested in hearing the answers to my questions, too. And she had been one of the people I was most trying to avoid. Yet, a part of me very much wanted to ask. When I was finally picking up my things to leave for lunch, I heard her voice behind me. So, you do have admirers after all, Mr. Gray. I paused, my eyes widening. Why is she talking to me? Not really. I cleared my throat, standing back up to my full height, turning to face her. I held up the most normal red one. Moirai. I held up a pink Lister. I held up one that wasn't a rose, and was assuredly grabbed from outside. Peter. I held up a multicolored one. Victor. I held up the last one, pausing. I suppose you've got me here. Don't know who this one is from. Any guesses? I blinked up at her. My blink turned into a stare. I think it lasted too long, as I tried to decide if I wanted to say it. You. This drawing looks a lot like yours. No, I blinked, shaking my head. No idea. A shame. Her eyes fell, then she perked back up. Well, nothing like pity flowers to brighten your holiday. I scoffed, twirling Peter's. I can't decide what would make me feel worse. Nothing or this. At least you know they care about you. Not something you'll ever have to worry about, I muttered, gesturing with my lame flowers at her bouquet. She blinked, hurt entering her eyes. Sorry, I didn't mean... No, she set her stuff down. You're right. I got more flowers than anyone. She pulled out one of the notes attached. Lanai, I hope you have a good day. Would you like to go to the dance with me? That's going to be hard when there's no name attached, buddy. She set that one down and pulled out another. Are you a parking ticket? 'Cause you've got fine written all over you. She stuck out her tongue. Dear Miss Renzar, I think you're cool. P.S. I like that top, the one with the sequins. You should wear it more often. XOXO. That top showed enough cleavage that once the principal saw it, he looked scandalized, forced her to wear a sweater over it, and banned her from wearing it again. You want to know what the most popular guy in school thinks of me? Dear Lanai, you have a nice ass. Love, Brennan. Short and to the point, I'll give him that. Miss Fay didn't look up from her computer and said, You got nice tits and a good ass. What more could you want out of Valentine's cards? I couldn't tell if she meant it or was being sarcastic. She scoffed. Not that it isn't nice to hear. Some substance would be nicer. You've come to the wrong place for that, darling. I hear you can become pen pals with prisoners. Their notes might be less crass. She chuckled, but then her eyes fell. Is something wrong? I asked. Other than half the school thinking I'm a slut? Eyes widened at the word. What? They don't... They do, she murmured softly, twirling a rose. I wanted to say definitively that they didn't, but rumors were like poltergeists to a high school, and that particular one followed her. A lot of people listened to its moaning. I myself had never known if it was true. I'd spent more nights than I cared to admit, awake, wondering, fearing, thinking about her, and I wanted to believe it wasn't true. I told myself she wasn't like that, and especially if she didn't want people to think that. I don't, I said softly. She looked at the floor. You don't need to do that, Savion. I cleared my throat. So that's not what's wrong?
Well, every year someone would give me a special flower with unique colors. It looked a lot like the one Dr. Frankenstein gave you, but I don't think Dr. Frankenstein gave it to me.
Miss Fay snorted at the thought.
They dyed it, I think, she continued, and then the letter would say things with, well, she met my eyes, then shrugged, looking away. Substance. They typed it up so I wouldn't know their handwriting and didn't sign it. Either that or they wouldn't send a letter with it. I always look forward to it, but whoever they are, she held up the ordinary bouquet. They didn't do it this year. I looked away. That's too bad. She leaned forward. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
I backed up, hoping I wasn't blushing. Why would I?
Well, maybe you've heard something.
No, nothing. I mean, you and I pointed between us. I really wished I hadn't put on yesterday's clothes. We haven't spoken for a long time. It's not like... I met her gaze. The moment felt too long before she looked away, muttering something under her breath. What was that? Nothing. I searched for something else to talk about. So, I rubbed the back of my neck. You gonna take no name to the dance? She laughed. Well, I'm not going to stand up in the cafeteria and demand to know who sent the note, because they're obviously my true love, if that's what you're asking. Especially when at least a quarter of these are dance invitations. They'll all jump up when I ask, and whoever I don't pick will get jealous. A fight might break out. I'd like to see that. I like violence as much as the next gal, but trust me, you wouldn't. I seem to recall you liking it more than the next gal. She snickered, and my chest bubbled against my will. Hey, is a gal who can't enjoy bloody brawls as much as pretty dresses really a gal's gal? I snorted. Are you gonna accept any of them? Not that the thought of Brennan groping my ass for the duration of a slow song doesn't sound like a good time. I don't think so. Oh? I genuinely hadn't expected that. I've gone with boys enough. I think it's time I went with my friends. Fair enough. I pulled on my collar to let the air in, looking away. You weren't gonna ask me, were you? My eyes widened. I stumbled back, accidentally knocking my stuff off the desk, hoping I wasn't blushing, and my voice was level. I asked, what? Why would you ask that? Half the school wants to go with me. Just checking which half you're a part of. Come on. I reached down to pick up my stuff. I hate Valentine's Day. Oh? You didn't used to. Yeah, well, you know. I gathered my things haphazardly and backed up towards the door. We could all do with a little less ass groping. Somehow I found the door without tripping. You have a good lunch. I awkwardly ran out, speeding down the hall, my face roughly the temperature of a small sun. And Lanai's friends were waiting by her locker, so I wasn't free just yet. Lovely. They waved at me as I opened mine. I timidly waved back. They snickered. I buried my face in my locker again, putting my stuff away, considering whether I wanted to eat lunch. What took you so long? Her friends asked as she made her way down the hall. Oh, just... And she slapped my ass on her way down the hall. Talking to doll dark and edgy here. I jumped, my face now the temperature of a quasar, staring after her wide-eyed. Her friends giggled. I turned and buried my face even further, wishing my locker would swallow me. I didn't understand. Ever since it happened, she'd hated me. Several shouted words and desperate apologies later, and we never talked to each other. Just the occasional awkward group project, or maybe an excuse me in the hall. Why would she talk to me now? Who are those from? Anaya asked, probably pointing at the roses. Just about everybody. Maylee giggled, and the others laughed. Where's your special one? I saw Lanai shake her head out of the corner of my eye. Not this year. Maybe they decided they didn't like me anymore. Aw, Maylee hugged her. Their loss. Hey, maybe they don't go to the school anymore, Anaya offered. Or they died. Anaya! Just saying, those options seem more likely than someone deciding they didn't like Lanai anymore. Shut up, Lanai chuckled, ruffling her hair. As they headed off to lunch, I saw Lester and Peter coming towards me from the opposite hallway. Why are you guys late? I squinted at Lester. Did Billy Hannigan get to you too? He shook his head. Well, there was that time. Lester put his hand on Peter's mouth, murmuring, We agreed never to speak of that. My eyes widened. What?
Well, Hannigan didn't get to us today, at least. Peter held up a bag of candy. We had a competition in French. I won. We stayed late to collect my winnings. Just what you needed. Well, just what you needed. A bigger head. If it gets any bigger, it might pop like a balloon. At least died because his head popped is an exciting story to put on a tombstone. He winked as he started sucking on his winnings. Were you talking to Lanai? Lister asked. A little, I murmured, continuing to put my stuff away. When's the last time you talked to her? In biology, when we had to actually talk to her. I looked away. What did you talk about? He asked. All the flowers she got. Thank you, by the way. I held up mine. The dance? Valentine's Day crap? Did you invite her to the dance? I nearly choked on my own spit. What? I stared at him, wide-eyed. Why? Why would you ask that? Why would I ask her? Why would you ask that? Lister's brow furrowed. Because you like her, he said calmly, like we already established this years ago. I felt like my eyes might pop out. What? Come on, Peter grinned. You thought we didn't know? With that face, you could start a club. He leaned against the locker beside mine. The Broken Hearts Club. I slammed my locker a little too hard for the second time today. Oh yeah, you hate Valentine's Day. Peter reveled in my pain. It sucks. It's not like you're... I put my hand over his mouth, whispering, Shut the fuck up. He licked my hand. I immediately released him, staring at my hand. Oh, God, why? I'm not God, but thanks for the compliment. I glared at him, wiping my hand on his shirt. Come on, you can't handle your brother's saliva? You're not my actual brother. Spirit brothers can't share spittle. Blood brothers shouldn't share spittle. No one should be sharing spittle. I think any and all of the couples around would disagree with you. I shuddered. What, the thought of sharing spittle with Lanai doesn't excite you? I genuinely thought I might throw up. My face was ready to boil off. Kissing sounds fine. Our tongues visiting each other's mouths, less so. Before Peter could tease me more, Lister asked a more normal question. Why don't you talk to her? Why don't I talk to her? Despite that, I demanded it like that was the most ridiculous idea I'd heard today. Let's see. I feigned pondering. She is the prettiest, most popular girl in school, and I look like a mangy dog who should be put out of its misery. And that's just reason one. Ah, but you forget. Peter held up a finger. People love the mangy dog. They feel pity for him and want him to succeed in all his endeavors. Everyone cries when they shoot him. But they still shoot him. It was sounding like a mercy right now. Besides, I don't want to be pitied. The mangy dogs never do. He wrapped his arms around me tight. They just want to be cuddled. I pushed him away. Stop, damn it. He laughed. Told ya, you're too fun to squeak. I looked at Lister for rescue. He respected my boundaries enough not to join in, but didn't stop Peter. He folded his arms over his chest, smirking. Savion, you've liked her since we were kids. I honestly didn't realize it was a secret. I didn't like her when we were kids, or at least I didn't like her. We were best friends. But now you have a big boy body and you have big boy feelings. Peter poked me on every B word. When he went through puberty, I was going to get him back so hard. I think my face had boiled away. I had no skin, just a skull. Yeah, this day is great. I groaned again. Lister chuckled and motioned for us to start walking down the hall. As they turned to head into the cafeteria, I kept walking. Aren't you coming to lunch? I need a break from the... Another couple walked by, kissing and giggling every few steps. I turned and walked backwards, mouthing that. Lister shrugged. Can we come with? No. Top secret Broken Hearts Club meeting. You wouldn't have anything to do with it. I faced the right direction and walked faster down the hall. As I entered the biology classroom, I leaned back against the door, sighing and running my hand through my hair. Victor looked up from the literal heart he was holding. Shit, I didn't realize he'd still be in here. There you are! He dropped it and made squelching noises as unidentified substances splashed around in the tin. Okay. He took off his gloves and threw them in the trash. I know we didn't have much time this morning because you slept past your alarm, and they already passed out the flowers, but we can still do this now. He brought out a beaker holding a blue and purple flower. Sorry, I took the liberty of doing it for you, but I thought time was of the essence. I looked at him and sighed. Give it to whoever you want. I'm not doing that this year. His face fell. What? He asked softer. But you always... Why does everyone think a couple times is always? I grunted. It's tradition. Look, what's the point of the effort if she hates me? First of all, you don't have to put in the effort. It's already done. He gestured to the flower. Second of all, you still did it in the previous years when she was way more standoffish. And third of all, she doesn't hate you. How do you know? How do you? You barely talk. When we used to talk every day, that's kind of a flag. What kind of flag? I rolled my eyes. A red one. If you don't do this, he drummed his fingers on the beaker. I'm not letting you have the car this weekend. What? But this weekend is the concert. Yes, he said, like he was teaching a kindergartner, overemphasizing his nod. That's why it's called blackmail, not because the envelopes are black. I put my fist on my forehead, groaning loud and long. Fine. I held out my hand for the flower. I'll put it in your locker. Happy? Make sure to grab your lunch while you're at it. I'm not hungry. It was made with love. If you don't eat it, I'll think you don't love me. I sighed, louder and longer. Though, he added, if your plan was to eat in here, I'd recommend otherwise. Why? Well, because there were hearts on the table several minutes ago, for one, and I don't think the smell and potential taste of formaldehyde is conducive to a good meal for two. I've seen you eat here on dissection days before. I'm immune. To the smell or death? He shrugged. Both. The rest of the day was much the same as the first half, though I'll admit the heart dissection was kind of fun. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible, but being one of the teacher's kids meant that our family never got home quickly. Lestaire and I worked on homework early, and we tried to get Peter to do the same, reminding him he wouldn't have time after the dance. He always said he'd get to it later, which usually meant he did it in the 5 minutes before the teacher collected papers. But staying late wasn't without its benefits. A little ways into my Latin homework, I felt a tap at my shoulder. Look what I found in my locker, and I smiled, twirling the rose. Hey! I nearly jumped again, but tried to salvage it. I think I failed. Your secret admirer came through after all. That's great. She inclined her head. You wouldn't have anything to do with that, would you? Why would I? Well, before I talked to you, I didn't have a flower. And afterwards, I did. Kind of seems like there's a connection. Once again, I hoped I wasn't blushing. Correlation does not equal causation. Sure. Are you going to the dance later? They are. I pointed with my pencil at Lestaire and where Peter was 3 seconds ago. I asked if you were. Probably not. I shrugged. I think spending the evening with the house to myself would be more fun. Ah, I see. Her eyes fell. Why do you ask? It'd be nice to see you there. I blinked. You want me there? I blurted out. She shrugged. Just saying it'd be nice. Lestaire put his hands on my shoulder, saying, I think what he means to say is, he'll consider it. Good. She perked up. That's all I'm looking for. When she was out of earshot, Lestaire said, So you'll be going to the dance now, right? I punched him in the arm. Shut up. Lestaire, smirking and elbowing me, told Victor and Peter I was going to the dance after all. After much celebration and teasing, both making me rethink that decision, I headed up to my room and flopped onto my bed. After a minute or two of feeling sorry for myself, I pulled out my phone and decided to give myself a reason to feel extra sorry for myself. I scrolled through my dormant texts until I found Lanai's name. What greeted me was a smorgasbord of one-sided messages, apologies, and pleas, all dripping with guilt and desperation, all of which clenched my chest and hands. At the time, I tried to tell myself I was fine being left on red, that I would be fine. I didn't feel fine. Who in their right mind would want me back after what I did? I shut off my phone, letting it fall onto the bed. Victor had put all our roses in a vase downstairs, but we kept the valograms. I pulled mine out, smiling at my family's notes, setting them on my nightstand. I looked over the fifth one again. Just a drawing of me. No words or signature. I looked much more handsome in it than I did in reality. It had to be some other admirer, right? As far-fetched as the idea that someone liked me was, it was less so than the idea that Lanai gave it to me. Lanai's style wasn't that unique, was it? There was a knock at the door. "Can I come in?" Victor asked. "You can," I parroted the teacher's phrasing, putting the valogram with the others. "May I?" he corrected. I heard the smile in his voice. "You may," I said, smushed into my pillow. "There's something on your mind." "Master of perception, you are," I continued to mutter into the pillow. I felt his weight on the edge of the bed. "You weren't just embarrassed back there. There's something else going on." I didn't say anything. "I won't tell anyone," he promised. "Even your son?" "Oh, especially not my son. Also, you're my son too." I blinked, then sighed. "Come on." He put his hand on my shoulder. "Give your new old man something." I scoffed, biting back a smile. He wasn't my biological father, but he was the closest thing to a father I'd ever had. Shaking my head, I shook off the smile. "I just don't understand," I murmured. "What don't you understand?" "Why she would care if I was there. Why she would talk to me like she cared about me. Why she would talk to me at all." "Why wouldn't she?" "Because she hates me. You were friends when you were kids." "We were." "Has she ever said she hated you?" The question summoned a memory like a demon. The glass shattered against the wall. "Get out! Get out if you know what's good for you!" "Lanai." "What?" She spat. It was the worst look I'd seen on her face. It was the saddest, most angry, most hurt, most broken I'd ever seen her, and I just wanted to melt into a puddle of goo. "What could you possibly say to make this better?" "I'm sorry," I whimpered. "I know! I heard you the first 100 times." "Well, I'm going to say it until you hear me. You don't think I'm torn up about this? You don't think I'm consumed with guilt? You don't think I wish I were the one who died? Well, that makes 2 of us." I took a step back, catching my breath. "You wish I was dead?" "I wish you were dead. I wish I was dead. I wish anyone had died but her." I swallowed. She shook her head. "You think I don't know you?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "I know it was an accident. I know it eats you up inside. But I also know you were high." My eyes widened. I took another step back. "No, don't lie to me, Savion Gray." I swallowed. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. "How did you know?" She folded her arms across her chest. "Because you're always high, Savion. You could have prevented this if you were sober. If you were sober..." She swallowed, her words catching in her throat. "This never would have happened. But no, you're gonna shoot up before you drive, before you let a little girl into your car. A good high matters more than her safety, her life." I just stood there, breath sitting on my chest like a headstone, tears crawling out of my eyes. No excuse or apology can bring my sister back. Can you understand that? "I know, but what else can I do? What else can I say?" "You can shut up!" she screamed. I blinked, taking a step back, but obeyed. She breathed heavily. After a long moment, she spoke quietly. "When we were kids, you were fun. You were really nice. You know that?" Tears infected her voice. "But now," she shook her head, "you're a mess, and I'm done trying to clean you up." My eyes stung. "What? You mean? I mean I never want to see you again. I never want to talk to you. I never want to hear your name." She growled, and then shook her head, folding her arms over her chest. "I hate you so damn much." I exhaled. "Yes." "Oh," Victor blinked, taken aback. "I honestly didn't expect that." "Why? When? When do you think? When her sister died?" "I don't understand." "She blames me for her sister's death. And she's right." "But that was an accident. I was driving. It wasn't your fault." "It was." "You didn't mean to hit that guy." "No, but if I'd been sober, I might not have." "Oh." His eyes widened. Oh, that's... He blew out of breath. Yeah, I said lamely. So, she told you she hated you? Yep. And she didn't talk to you for years? Yep. But she's talking to you now. Hence my confusion. Well, maybe she's forgiven you. Maybe she's realized you never meant that to happen. Why now? He shrugged. It's Valentine's Day? I scoffed. The other option is, maybe you've matured. Maybe she sees it. You don't do drugs anymore. He side-eyed me. As far as I know. I looked away, grunting. Well, killing someone is a pretty good reason to stop. He put his hand on my shoulder. You didn't kill her, Savion. I looked away. Do you really hate Valentine's Day? I flipped over onto my back, blinking at him. What? Do you really hate it? Or does it just remind you how much you miss her? I looked away. I thought about shrugging or brushing the question off, but I decided not to. On the streets, people were nicer on holidays. On a day all about love, people would open their hearts a little wider. In my foster mother's house, it was a better day than most. And yes, it makes me think of the ways Lanai and I would celebrate it. Silly little cards, sharing chocolates. I grimaced. It just reminds me how it used to be a day where magic could happen. And now, that's missing. Now it's just a day for people to be horny. He snorted, shaking his head. Well, could you say that that's because you don't need the magic so much? That your ordinary days are better? They are, I nodded. And I'm grateful for that, truly. But the world also feels a lot more normal. I see how people get greedy on Christmas more than their generosity. Thanksgiving isn't really about being thankful. I know your situation was different, but everyone feels that way, to an extent. When you're a kid and your imagination is big, there's lots of magic around. Growing up tries to hunt it all down and stuff it out. Do you want to know the trick? I shrugged. When you grow up, you have to make it yourself. How do I do that? You buy the chips you like, because you know there are too many... You buy the chips you like that you know are too many calories, because they brighten your life. You read bad books because they make you laugh. You reread your favorite good ones, because it doesn't matter how many times you've read them before, they still make you cry. You put on your favorite cartoons on your worst days, even though you're too old. You buy yourself the chocolate you like on Valentine's Day. You spend a little extra on good concert tickets for your son. You talk like a pirate, even if it annoys everyone else in your house. He smirked. And you spike the punch. He rubbed his hands, standing up. What do you think would be best? Rum? Vodka? This strange glowing goo I found in the garage? You mean your lab? You're the one who said it. You're a chaperone. Exactly. No one will expect it. I vote for the goo. The stare was standing in the doorframe. How long had he been there? Goo it is. You might lose your job. I assure you the goo is perfectly harmless and food safe. No one will get sick or drunk. He paused. I think. I rolled my eyes. They'll be leaving in a few hours. Best take a shower. Probably a good idea. The decorations and the antics of lovebirds were similar to before, but now with added horniness. The music was, as expected, both loud and bad. I couldn't find Lanai, let alone talk to her. Lister and Peter forced me to dance against my will. After a couple of songs, I finally managed to get away from them and make it to the wall, begging it to grant me asylum. That's when I noticed Lanai leaning on the back wall herself. She was wearing my flower in her hair. My heart speeding up, I straightened my tie and walked towards her. And Peter's favorite, Billy Hannigan, got to her first. I wasn't sure what to do. I leaned against a decorative succulent. I was still close enough to hear them. Listen, Lanai, he said in a tone he probably thought was suave, leaning against the wall beside her. I think he was trying to look seductive. He just looked diseased. We can't keep doing this. Doing what? She raised an eyebrow. We can circle each other, we can avoid each other, but we all know the truth. Her eyebrow raised higher. You want this. He gestured to his snotty chocolate-stained self. She snorted, and I had to resist the urge to do the same. I do I? He nodded, giving what I think was his best approximation of a smoldering grin. I know you can feel the love tonight. You've been staring at me from across the dance floor. Actually, I was staring at the snacks. I think Dr. Frankenstein put something in the punch. And you know what? He wasn't even listening. I've decided I'm not going to let you suffer. I'll let you have a shot at all. He gestured to himself. This. Out of the kindness of your heart, is it? She folded her arms over her chest, and I actually snorted that time. That's right. Can I have this dance? He held out his hand and bowed. Not that that isn't a very tempting offer, Mr. Hannigan. I think I'll have to pass. Anger flashed on his face for a second before he said more quietly, Come on, babe. You don't have to hide it. It's okay. I know you're not as popular as me, but I don't mind. Her distaste was evident on her face now. I took the opportunity to step closer. Look, Billy, she said, I'm sure you'd be a perfectly average dancer. I think she was being generous. But I'm really not looking for a... So you already have a date then, do you? He looked around, like looking for enemy targets. Is it Brennan? Because he's... No, it's not Brennan. Her arms folded and her brow set. I looked over at Brennan, who had 3 girls giggling over him. I don't know how I missed that. How he missed that. Or maybe he thought Brennan would come here with 1 woman and leave with 3 others. Yeah, okay, that was a fair assessment, if so. Is he the one who gave you that? He reached for the flower. She jerked away. I walked up to them. She doesn't have to tell you who she's with because it's none of your business. She said no. He smirked. Looky here. If it isn't the leader of the Broken Hearts Club. What? My eyes widened. Excuse me? Where'd he heard that? Peter hated him. He wouldn't tell him, would he? Go back to your moping, Broken Hearts Club. I breathed out. Sure. If you leave Lanai alone. You'd think that's what she wants, do you? He chuckled. You're the last person who should be lecturing me on what Lanai here wants. What's that supposed to mean? It means I don't have any interest in taking advice from the guy who's been making puppy dog eyes at her for years. My eyes widened wider. My heart spun in my chest, but before I could say anything, he looked from me to the flower. Oh, I get it. He grinned. You're the one who gave her the flower, aren't you? Not Brennan. No, he's way too simple-minded for this. And your dad's the science teacher. That explains the weird color. No. Let me just... He took the flower. Take this out of your hair. Literally. Hey! Then I shouted. I know you were probably sitting in the playground earlier this week. He plucked a petal off, playing She Loves Me. Another petal. She loves me not. Another. Just because she rejected you doesn't mean you can keep her from the rest of us. Then I jumped for the flower, growling, I never rejected him. Why would I be wearing it if I had? He pulled away with a smirk, like this was a game. Did you know he was the one who gave it to you? Yes. My eyes widened, so much I wasn't sure I could keep them in my head. Come, princess. He ran the bloom along her cheek. You don't have to give this loser your pity. Fire in her eyes, she tried to snatch it, but he yanked it back. Look, I don't care what you say about me, but... I began. You don't care, he interrupted, spinning to me. Oh, but the edge in your voice says you do care. He ran the flower along my cheek, too. I think he meant it to be loving with Lanai, but it was patronizing both times. When I tried to snatch it myself, he jerked it back again, cackling. Little Broken Hearts Club, sitting all alone, pining after a girl who doesn't want you. He put his hand on my shoulder. It's gotta hurt. He patted fakely. But one day, you need to get over this silly schoolboy crush. Look. I pinched the bridge of my nose. I hated to admit, I was starting to understand the elephant toothpaste thing. I never asked to be the leader of the Broken Hearts Club. I tried to keep the rage out of my voice. But Cupid's arrows fall where they may, don't they? My hands clenched into fists. Poor little Broken Hearts Club. He started walking around me, still playing with the flower. All he ever wanted was some chocolates, a flower or 2. Now he's just a victim. He made a pouty face. Like St. Valentine. Like a mangy dog. He just needs to be put out of its misery. It's sad, really. He shook his head. My stomach yanked itself into my chest. I don't care what you say about me. I reiterated more forcibly, willing it to be true. But Lanai told you no, so you can kindly give her back her flower and back the fuck off. Ooh, fighting words. You step back. Or what? He held out his hands. Skinny little broken hearts club will make me. I just might. He chuckled with a shake of his head. You should stick to your pining. You're embarrassing yourself. You know what? Maybe I am. I'm embarrassed I came here tonight. I'm embarrassed I'm having this conversation with you right now, if you can call it that. I'm embarrassed that I have a crush on a girl who hates my guts. I kept my eyes firmly fixed on Billy, not meeting Lanai's, and I'm embarrassed that the whole world seems to have known I did. But I am not embarrassed to say I will fist fight you if you don't back off. He put his hands on his hips and laughed. Seriously, you look like Jack Skellington with more, skin and hair. You really want to tussle with this much muscle? I think he was mistaking fat for muscle. I laughed. Ruler of Halloween Town? I'll take that as a compliment. At least Halloween is about more than just being horny. This holiday sucks. Such insults! This holiday is about so much more than being horny. What does Halloween celebrate? Pumpkins? Demons? Hot vampires? Since when is any of that worth celebrating? But love is worthy of a holiday. We all need somebody to love, after all. What does that even mean? I don't need anybody to write me a card full of words they pulled out of their ass instead of their heart, or feed me lines they stole from stupid love songs. I'd take the horrors over the horny any day. He cackled. You sure Whittle Broken Hearts Club doesn't get hard every time Lanai looks in his general direction? My eyes widened, and Lanai gasped, finally, firmly ripping the flower out of his hands. Apologize! What? He laughed. You think it's not true? Apologize to him. Him first. For what? He admitted he's been pining after you, even though you hate his guts, and want nothing to do with him. He didn't respect your boundaries. That was very selfish and rude of him, and must have been very unpleasant for you. I finally looked Lanai in the eyes. I stepped forward. I'm sorry, I whispered, and I meant it. You don't have to. He's right. I shouldn't have. It was wrong of me to keep. I didn't mean for this to. I shut my eyes, grimacing. I should have moved on. It's what you wanted. A little forced, but see, that wasn't hard. He bowed to me. And I'm sorry too. You probably only get hard half the time. Look, my voice became a growl. I am probably the only person who likes her who isn't thinking about fucking her. Well, if that's true, you're no fit for her. He leaned against the wall by Lanai again, uncomfortably close to her. I'll let you in on a secret. Lanai says she doesn't want this. His hand gravitated towards her ass. But we all know that she's something that rhymes with strut. Before either of us realized what the other was doing, Lanai and I both punched him in the face. He thudded on the floor without another peep. See, what did I tell you? It was Peter's voice. I turned to see him leaning against the wall behind us with a cup of punch, smirking. Billy Hannigan's a mother trucker. I marched up to him. Oh yeah? Then how do you find out that nickname, huh? What nickname? He scoffed. He took a sip of punch, then made a face at it. Broken Hearts Club. His eyes widened. Wait, he must have been listening. Savion, I'm so sorry. His eyes widened further, but he wasn't looking at me. I turned around. Behind me was the principal. Am I going to have to send everyone in your family to detention for the same reason? All we need is for Billy to insult science, and we'll have a full set, Peter said into his punch cup. Don't start with me. Dr. Threadgold eyed him. Look. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I saw what was happening. He himself was clearly harassing another student. Because it's, he sighed, Valentine's Day, and my daughter requested I be generous. I won't suspend either of you. But I won't be so lenient next time. I blinked. Dr. Threadgold, that's... He held up a hand. Don't thank me. But do tell the nurse a student has been... He tilted his head at Billy. Incapacitated. Not looking at Lanai, I walked off in that direction. I found the nurse and told her what happened. I didn't know how someone could look both disapproving and proud at the same time. I think she said something. I couldn't hear her. She walked out. I followed. Once she found a way to retrieve Billy, I was alone in the hall, and the music from the auditorium was muffled. I turned towards the exit. The door clicked open behind me. Where are you going? It was Lanai's voice.
Where does it look like I'm going? Either to get fresh air or to leave, whichever is easier to achieve. Running footsteps. She grabbed my arm. Weren't you going to ask me to dance? I ripped my arm out of her grasp. Oh yeah, like you'd want Mr. Broken Hearts Club to dance with you. I would. I whirled around. Why? Because I like you. My breath caught. I took a step back. Well, you shouldn't. Why not? You said it yourself. Because I'm a mess. Because it's not your responsibility to clean me up. Just because I stopped doing drugs doesn't mean I'm not the same piece of shit that killed your sister. I was very glad there was no one in the hall. You didn't kill her, Savion. You know full well I did. She swallowed. It was an accident. It doesn't matter. I was driving. I was high. I could have prevented it. Savion, she shouted. I'm telling you, I don't blame you anymore. She cut herself off, taking a short exhale. Yes, maybe you could have prevented it. Maybe a lot of us could have, in a lot of ways. But it only hurts us both to place blame now. It's hurt us for too long. Where was this Lanai years ago? She was grieving. She was angry. What is going on with you? Because last I checked, you hated me. Last I checked, I was never supposed to talk to you again. Savion. She took a deep breath. I've been wanting to reconnect for a while now, but I wasn't sure how to go about it. She looked at the floor. Back then, I was angry. She met my eyes and repeated slowly, calmly. I was grieving. I didn't know how to deal with what happened, and it was easier to blame you than to admit it was no one's fault, and you were hurting too. That you didn't mean to. That the only reason you did drugs is because your foster mother beat you and had the drugs on hand. It was all you could do to hold it together. But I see now, even though what you did was wrong, I was wrong too. And I see that you're not like that anymore. She took the crumpled rose from her hair. Apparently everyone else knew. She twirled it, then paused, a broken smile reaching her face. But it took me a while. I avoided you so thoroughly that I didn't know. When I realized it was you who always sent me those special Valentine's roses, I was furious at first, but then she paused. I did a lot of soul searching. She looked up. I just couldn't figure out how to say it, or when, or where. But I wanted to say this shit for so long. I thought maybe Valentine's Day would be a good day for it. I would tell you I knew, and She trailed off. But then you didn't send me one. Her brow furrowed as she played with the broken petals. I should have just talked to you. She looked up at me. I'm sorry for blaming you, for leaving you on red, for saying I hated you, for not talking to you, for not telling you I wanted to reconnect, and for not doing it sooner. I'm sorry for treating you the way I did, when you were struggling just as much as I was. If you're willing to be friends again, so am I. I'd love to get to know you again. For a moment I stood there, stunned. My eyes stung and my cheeks were wet, but I didn't remember when I'd started to cry. Yes, I think I'd like that, I murmured, wiping tears. So, you sent me my 5th rose after all. She nodded, smiling. I thought the trade would be a good icebreaker. I did like your drawing. She smiled and took a slow step forward, her hands behind her back. I think this is your cue to ask me to dance. Right. I cleared my throat again. Lanai Rinzar, would you grant me the honor of dancing with me? There's been a lot of talk of ass groping today, and I just want to set the record straight that I will not be doing that. She giggled and kissed my cheek. I'd like that. Happy Valentine's Day, Broken Hearts Club. Maybe it was. Throw up those moths and monsters. Cheer for the story if you loved it, but that's the only reason there is nothing to unlock. Ghoulish. Oh, hi, August. Yes, indeed. I'm not muted. The others have been talking like they can hear me, otherwise I would be very scared at that. But it sounds like you might have muted me. Yeah, Mako says she is not muted. Thanks for the turtles and the wee tentacle skellies. I know that there was an ad at the end there, like at a very important part. I was really hoping if I just kept snoozing it, we would get through the whole story without one, but it didn't happen. So let me know if I need to reread the ending. I know a lot of people who are here are subscribers, so. Look at the little sharkies. So cute. Okay,
time to go through the notes. There's a kitty. That's a kitty. You're very Molly today. I love all the excitement. Spectre says that prologue never fails to get me. And Mako says, that's a hell of an intro. Thank you. Mark says, Mother Trucker remains funny, and I'll hear nothing different. I'm glad. It's, every time I read Peter saying that, it makes me think of the Vine, the Mother Trucker dude, that hurt like a butt cheek, you know? Somebody find it. Yeah, so I don't know if that insult's become cringy to others, but I wanted a clean insult for him to say. Axolotl, that's right. There's been a lot of talk of axolotls recently. Spectre, I can just imagine Threadgold's eyebrows getting closer and closer together with every pun. Oh, that is amazing. Maybe at some point I should write like a bonus story about Moirai having him write the letters, and then he just like gets the eyebrows to get closer and closer together. Ghoulish fell asleep, but welcome. Yes, pay attention to me. Spectre, it ain't a proper history class without at least one graphically violent depiction of unalignment. Yep, exactly. And you would know. You are our resident historian. Mars, I do love that he immediately recognized the art style and tried to deny it. Oh, I just realized that the reason that I usually ask my questions first is because then it gives you the time while I'm reading your comments to answer them. So let me see if there's any I want to ask. Yes, there you go. There's the Vine. So is there anything confusing? Please tell me which jokes were funny, which ones made you laugh or smile. If any made you cringe, that would be helpful to know too. Were any of the times I included lyrics from the St. Valentine song cringy or said the thing, or did they work? 3B, did I overuse the Broken Hearts Club nickname? It's kind of meant to be Billy badgering him and overusing it, but I didn't want it to feel like, we get it, Kaylie, that's a line in the song. 4, did the swearing work, or would you have rather done without it? I have gone back and forth on if Savion will swear in canon, and have written many stories where he does. But now I'm kind of leaning towards the idea that he views swearing as one of those human-only vices he should avoid. Especially as someone who grew up in a Christian home who would, in the past, put a book down for swearing. I think excluding swearing keeps it applicable to a wider audience, which is something I'd like for my stories. And then again, considering what else is in my canon story, maybe swearing would be a good way to warn people this is not for the faint of heart. So I decided I wanted this AU to appeal to a wider audience, but I just felt like a high school Savion who was born human, who grew up in poor conditions, simply would swear. Just seemed most accurate to the character. Thoughts? 5, did any of my connections to the actual canon story feel too self-indulgent or shoehorned in? 6, did you guess that he might be high in the car accident? I was hoping as long as you didn't read the content warning that you wouldn't guess, but that once it was revealed, that seemed to make more sense. I have never been high, so I'm not sure if I'm portraying that well. Do you let me know if anything feels particularly accurate or inaccurate? I was meaning to portray him as happier, loopier, calmer than in most of the story, and if you'll notice, every problem in that section is his fault. He swerves too wide. He is the one who causes the accident. Did you notice that on a first pass? 7, if you didn't read the content warning, did the drug abuse feel like a reveal? Did the actual abuse by his foster mother feel like a reveal? 8, I really like the parts about magic, my application of I understand the tradition, but the magic is missing lyric. But I'm not sure if that worked because ultimately the argument is that Savion liked Valentine's Day for a bad reason. He liked it because his life sucked, and it was a better day than most. But now his days overall are better, making holidays normal and allowing him to see the negatives to them. Did that work or feel strange? 9, did the scene with Billy work? Did Savion feel like too much of a Prince Charming coming in to save the damsel? Did it work that they both punched him? I kept going back and forth on who would do it until I realized they just both do it. 10. Those who know my universe, this will be the first time you're hearing Savion's last name. Originally, it was going to be Grace, because I heard that as a surname in a TV show and I loved it. And I love the hopeful vibes to it. And being a Christian helps. But as time went by, it felt like it was too Christian, and not something that Savion and our listener would pick for themselves, since they do pick it. But I was super used to the sound of Savion Gr, and was attached to it. And then I realized Grey sounds very similar, and it works as both a reference to grey wolves and moral greyness. Does it work for you? Do you prefer Grace? And do you have a better idea? Has 50 Shades of Grey ruined that surname to the point that I should pick something else so people don't think of that? 11, any questions you're left with? 12, favorite lines? 13, any other comments? Let's see if there's any other notes to read. Oh yeah, so my actual, like notes and stuff. The ages in canon are hard to pin down because everybody, so I didn't introduce the story that way, but AU means alternate universe, so it means that I have my canon universe and everything is one way, and this is not how things work at all in canon. They're the same characters, they're the same people, but their lives and the setting of the universe is very different, and so this is like an alternate universe, like a parallel reality. And so this is just kind of for people who know my canon characters, just some little, like, explanations and stuff. So ages in, the canon universe are hard to pin down because everybody is either immortal or has lived on Meridia, where time has stopped. But I think of it as a lot of the personifications look like they're somewhere in their 20s or 30s. I put Victor late 20s, early 30s. Kronos still looks young, but definitely the oldest of the bunch, solidly in the 30s, if not a little more. Savion, Lester, and Lanai are in their early 20s. Lanai is the youngest. Peter looks 15 to 17, except in Pan form, where he's younger. And in canon, they are closer in age physically. But I like the idea for this AU that all the personifications are teachers, so there's a bigger age discrepancy. If you didn't catch them all, Victor is Victor, Mr. Clairval is Elan, Miss Fay is Morgana, Dr. Threadgold is Kronos, the nurse is Zoe. Kairos and Nick are sadly not present, couldn't figure out how to work them in. This is honestly my favorite version of Peter I've ever written, and I hope to write him more like this in canon. This is definitely the Peter Pan that the Lost Boys get to hang around. I hope one day he'll get to this place in canon, though at the moment he's a bit more edgelordy. I also wanted to make Morgana Savion and Lester's foster mother, but I couldn't figure out how to tie that together. I don't think Morgana would go so far as to beat him, though she might treat them in less than pleasant ways. And I felt like if Lanai's line at the end was, because of the horrible way your foster mother treated you, to leave it more ambiguous, that wouldn't have been as impactful. Do you think I was right? I'm unsure if there's magic in this world and or if the personifications are personifications. Victor's both line, I was hoping could be interpreted as literal or like he's joking around. I live in this lab. I'm immune to its hazards, kind of thing. And then I have a little video about elephant toothpaste down there, but it's a chemical reaction that makes a big amount of foam. Like, it looks like, if you had a tub of toothpaste for an elephant and you squeezed it, this is what would squeeze out. Kind of thing. I think that's pretty much everything. But yeah, so feel free to answer any and all of those. If you need me to grab them, I could, but for now, you could just go to the Valentine's event forum and then go to The Magic is Missing, and all the questions are in there. Not that edgelordy. Okay, back to reading your comments. The teacher who's been single for half their life and is sick of all the teenager lovey drama trope. Good things I never expected Kaylie to say. Tits and ass. I'm glad to hear that. I am glad that is not something you think of me saying.
But yeah, I feel like my intentions with Morgana there might not have come through. It it wasn't necessarily meant to be that she's mad at them being in love. It's just like, how do I even describe it? It's like she knows the problem with it. She knows that it's very shallow, but she's just like, yeah, like, it's a compliment. It's nice. Like, it's fine. Oh, what was the other thing I was thinking about with it? Yeah, so it's kind of like applying it to herself in a different way, like in the sense that, like, that's a compliment she's fine receiving, and in canon she can't really have a romantic or sexual relationship very easily, and so, like, shallow relationships is kind of like, okay, like, I guess this is what I get, so I will enjoy it, while I can have it. And so it's like, yeah, like, maybe it's not what you want, but it's still a compliment. Enjoy it while it lasts, kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. I did have a question about that, which I wasn't sure if that line was like, this is wildly inappropriate for a teacher to say. And I left it in, but I did get a comment about that, so I'm curious what you guys think. Because, like, on the one hand, I understand, but also I thought it was funny, and, like, she didn't mean it as, like, I am attracted to you, but she just meant it in what I was saying before of, like, might not be what you're looking for, but hey, it's a compliment, Marks, could you imagine how differently this story would have gone if Lanai was just like, Savion, why didn't you give me a flower this year? I got you one and everything. Yeah, that is a good point. I've been like, what? You do? Granted, like, that would be interesting to think about, because I think that it could have gone similarly but differently, in the sense that like, he could still change his mind and go to the dance and everything like that, but instead it would be like, oh, wait, but she likes me now, You'd be, wait, she wants to actually reconnect. Why does she want to reconnect? She probably wouldn't, like, tell him right away. She'd be like, at the dance, like, I'll explain things, and he'd just be like, palm knee gif all day, like, what is she talking about? What do you mean? What's going on? Mako, why did my brain desperately searching for a joke come up with, was that the ass slap of 87? What, is that a reference to something or just your brain? Spectre says, I think you're talking about, if I know where this comment is going, I think you're talking about something in the middle where they're at the lockers, well, before lunch. This is where Peter started veering from harmless prankster into unpleasant territory for me. It's not egregious, but some of his comments felt a bit too sharp. Not saying that as a critique necessarily, it's still in character for Peter. Very fair. If you're still here, do you remember, or I could go back up there, but do you remember what the specific lines were? Because that would be helpful to know which lines went too far in your mind. Because that was definitely not the intention. It was just meant to be playful. So it's good to know where there was an issue. Oh yeah, there's too much of it. There's too much to put on screen, but there's part of it. And then that is a helpful, like, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a critique, but that doesn't hurt. That's a helpful critique, but I appreciate you hedging in. Hello, Itanshi, waving pickle. Welcome. Spectre. The immune to death line from Victor and Savion really flew over my head the first time. That was funny. Nice. Not sure if Sherlock meme or Invincible meme. For what? What memes and what part? Spectre said, Victor really was a highlight of the story for me. He's so kind to his children, biological and adopted. Aw, that's really sweet. I'm glad to hear that. Ghoulish. Just an excuse to be horny. I don't know if this is worse than the commercialization of Valentine's. I mean, isn't that the commercialization of Valentine's? Is that they're making money off of people being horny? Good the punch. Licorice schnapps. That's what you should spike the punch with. Yes, that's a real thing. Why? Why should he spike the punch with that? What's special about that? And I think Mako said this when I started doing the, like, nasally voice. Oh, this makes it so much worse. Weirdly, I'm glad. I wanted it to be bad. Ghoulish. The music was both loud and bad. Yes, the biggest reason I didn't go to prom. That, and I think it's a waste of money. Very fair. Hey, high five. I didn't go to prom either. I went to, like, what was it, like homecoming, one of the early ones, and I didn't really have a good time, and I was like, I'm not really interested in doing that again. How many songs has Kaylie name dropped? So I think there's only one that I name dropped, well, aside from the song that inspired the piece. I think only Can You Feel the Love Tonight was dropped. I wanted more, but I just couldn't figure out how to work them in. So if either I did and I'm misremembering, or I did without knowing, do tell. Most pining is what? Where did I talk about pining at the end? I know I said pining somewhere, but I don't remember now. Billy is in need of a broken nose, says Ghoulish. Had you read this before? Did you know that's where this is going? Mako, honestly, I'm surprised it took this long. Very fair. Maybe a writerly thing where I wanted more conversation, but in reality, they might have punched him sooner. Spectre, oh yeah, I so wanted to punch him pages ago on my first read. Amazing. That was the goal. What's the German word for someone with a punchable face? I don't know how to pronounce that, but amazing. I see the word in the chat. And yes, Billy very much is one. I love that. Whoa, face punching for the win. We'll tell Billy to make sure it doesn't happen again. What you mean? What they could say to August? That, like since it's Valentine's Day, I'll let you off. Yeah, we'll make sure to tell Billy not to let it happen again. Oh yeah, so that was something I wanted to ask too. So this is another thing I wasn't sure about that I did get a comment on the maybe shouldn't have left it that way side, which is that, was it weird that the principal did not do anything when they punched somebody? I can't remember why all I made that plan. I think just because, like, the ending was supposed to be, like, wrapping things up in a positive light, and if, like, I don't know, if they were getting a lecture or a talking to, that would have broken up the story. And even if they were like, you get suspension, then that still would add a twinge of, like, negative to, the more positives of the ending. I could have had him say something like, you both get detention on Monday or something like that. You're getting detention next week. And granted, like, he did only say, where is it? I won't suspend either of you, but I won't be so lenient next time. So all he said is, I'm not going to suspend you. He didn't necessarily say, I won't punish you in some other way, just that they wouldn't be suspended. So maybe they'll arrive at school on Monday and have a detention or something like that. So I'm curious what, if you guys were like, yeah, that didn't really work for me, or if it worked fine for you. And the other thing is, like, I feel like, unfortunately, the realistic thing is for, a student is sexually harassing another student, and yet it's the self-defense. It's the people who punch him in response that get in trouble. And so I kind of wanted to not do that, because that also would have added to adding a twinge of, like, bitterness to the ending of, like, oh, well, the people who were, basically just defending themselves, got punished. So like a principal, So I didn't love that, but yeah, curious about your thoughts on that. Mako, no cringe, but the Billy voice made him so much worse than what I've been imagining. Amazing. Cool show. I wanted Billy to be castrated post-haste. You went right past the punching to something a lot more violent and permanent. Spectre, I'll get the razor. You hold the heated tongs. Amazing. Aerith highlighted, what can I say about this story? It was riveting. Aw. Really kept my attention tightly the whole way through because it was so well written. Its comedy is a great quality of it. It was funny and had good scenes early on. And then it builds to its dramatic finale. It is a really heartfelt story and kept me strongly engaged and interested all the way through. It's really well written and the love you put into it really shines through. Aw, thank you so much, Aerith. That really means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. True teamwork is punching the same guy in the face and not getting in each other's way. One fist for each eye. You got this eye. You got that eye? I got this eye. Aerith, really, from what I've read of your canon universe stories, the story is especially good because it actually makes me appreciate your official stories even more. Aw, that's really sweet. I'm really curious, if I would be curious to hear you expand on that. I'd be curious to hear more. Oh no, Death said you did miss it, unfortunately. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. But yeah, like, I don't want to go into it because it's not important to talk about on this stream, but yeah, if those who know what happens between Savion and Lai in the canon universe, this is kind of the good ending. This is a lot better. Like, it's still, yes, Wisteria still dies, and that still sucks. Which is funny because the reaction of both Mako and Marks were like, oh, Wisteria's here. Is she alive in this one? And then she immediately dies again. And they were both like, oh, okay. So that makes me think that I need to find some way to write like an AU where she's alive or just more stories about her. And I guess little vent moment. I had an idea for her for this week, and granted, it's not necessarily too late to write that and post that, but I already have 5 stories written, and I think I like my other idea more than the Wisteria idea, and so it's unfortunate that I have a Wisteria idea for this week to fulfill your desires at least a little bit, but it might not get posted. But yeah, so, like, still sucky stuff happens, still Wisteria dies, but, like, the other sucky stuff doesn't happen, and so this is, like, a happy ending, in a way, or a happy AU. Mako says, kind of felt to me like Morgana said the line and then muttered to herself, wish people still complimented my ass. That is funny, too. Spectre said, I think it started when he called Savion Broken Hearts Club repeatedly, but when he started poking him over and over in the cafeteria, that's when I went, Peter, stop, please, just stop. Gotcha, that makes sense. And, like, I'll see if I can get back there, but I do think, like, that is the point where he's, like, starting to really rub it in. Like, he's already been teasy, like, he's already been sitting on the edge, but I can totally see that pushing over the edge. Also, I don't know if it makes it better, but they weren't in the cafeteria. They were just by their lockers. They thought they were alone. Billy was like around the corner, but the hall was empty. So he wasn't doing it publicly. I also I don't think he's, so, I should have had a dialogue tag. I was gonna say, he doesn't call Savion Broken Hearts Club multiple times. He doesn't even call him that twice. You must have read this line as Peter, but it was actually Savion. It was Savion going, like, you know, sarcastically being like, no, top secret Broken Hearts Club meeting, like, kind of thing. But that makes sense as, that it would seem like it was Peter. Oh yeah, then like he's going the woo stuff to him too. Is the poking down here? Oh yeah, it's over here. Yeah, that is fair. Might be a personal thing, as I have issues with prolonged physical contact, especially tickling and poking. Well, that's actually very helpful because, like, granted, it might not be so severe in the AU where he's, you know, been born human, but Savion also doesn't like, you know, to be touched, and so that, yeah, that would be an especially grievous sin to do against him, so that totally makes sense as to, that's a little too much. Licorice schnapps is a tar blanc alcoholic drink which tastes heavily of licorice. What is tar blanc? I've never heard of that. So it would make all the rest of the punch in the bowl suddenly taste like licorice. Ah yes, turn the fruit punch black. The commercialization of Valentine's Day is a myth. It was commercial from inception. Yeah, I can't remember. I know that I did actually look that up, and like it genuinely is Chaucer. That's the reason that the day is this way, but I completely forgot what the story was. Hang on a sec. My mom's making dinner. It smells so good. At least two what? The principal seemed like a fine scene to me. Earth says, considering you were setting up the ending of the story too, sometimes people act according to the direction drama demands. I just googled St. Valentine. Yeah, interesting patronage. Courtly life protection from epilepsy and beekeepers. Oh, his, like, you pray to him to get protection. I assume you meant courtly love. Courtly love protection from epilepsy. Yeah, and that's fair. That's it. Oh boy, that's like sad in a different way. Plot twist: Wisteria survives, but Lanai dies in her stead. Oh no. Aw, it says I'm now even madder that I had jury duty today. Well, I'm happy you wanted to be here. And I hope that it wasn't too grueling. Yeah, he was saying that it felt unrealistic for the principal not to punish pupils for not just punching someone in front of witnesses, but knocking him unconscious. Would it have worked for you if he was like, I'm not going to suspend you, but you are going to detention? Or are you going like, no, it needs to be very severe? You can see St. Valentine's skull crowned with flowers in the Basilica of St. Maria in Cosmedian, Rome. Interesting. Tar black was a typo. Oh, so it's just a full-on black liquor. It says, I'd argue the principal does threaten them with suspension through his statement, but in reality there are mitigating circumstances. People can show favoritism and leniency and not always act how they should officially. Fair. I remember from Odetsa's comment that I think his issue with it is that, like, it might come back on him, that people would be like, oh, like, like, this principal does not do his job. He doesn't punish his students properly. And so that would be the issue with showing favoritism there. But two song references. Gotcha. What was the other one? Mako, the principal went easy on them because he wanted to deck him too. I don't know that Kronos is that nice, but that would work. And you can blame him. Inspector, but seriously, even if they had gotten detention, I would still have been, it would have been totally worth it. It wouldn't have soured the ending to me. Gotcha. This is from my experience, violence is a very, very red line, and the second you cross that, the school officials come down very hard. Gotcha. Which says, Lonely Hearts Club, banned by the Beatles. Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John. And I think I heard another one. Oh, so you must not have listened to the Jade Bates song, but the Broken Hearts Club is a line from the song that inspired this story. Everybody else at the dance, I saw nothing. Yeah, that is fair. That the witnesses would probably know that Billy Hannigan's a mother trucker and are like, no, did you hear that? A thudding sound? I think there might be a storm outside, you know? Yeah, that's fair. There's the two sides. One side of violence is a hard line, and the other side, the Mako says, I've seen a lot of crap happen with no repercussions. Very fair. Inspector says, yeah, licorice schnapps is a really black liqueur common in Scandinavia and northern Germany, made from licorice. I've never spiked anything with it, but I'd imagine it would make everything taste like really strong licorice. Fair. Yeah, that would be, you gonna say? That would be quite the, I don't know, the showstopper. If you poured it in, the entire punch turns black and then it tastes like licorice. I guess that maybe that would be too showy of a punch spike, because instead of it being spiked, everybody would know something went wrong. Like burn all on your tongue levels of strong licorice. Oh boy. Oops.
Kitty? Kitty? If you come closer, I will show you to the people. Come here. Come join us. Come join us, Kitty. He always puts his little feetsies out.
Oh, wow. Mako. Full fights in the lunchroom, multiple faculty, and half the student body. Nothing. Huh. Wild. That is not good. I mean, good for my case, but not at all good for your school or its students. Let's see. Let me just quick make a skim through it. I think my dinner is almost ready, so I'm gonna have to go anyways. But let me take a little skimmy through it and see if there's any last questions I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, so I was asking if you guys could tell when you go back now, if you can tell that he was high up here, or if it's like, not really how it reads.
Oh, Kitty Zoomers. I have caught the perpetrator. Oh, his baby.
What? Mako says, meanwhile, I got expelled because I turned in a pocket knife I forgot I had at the metal detectors. School rules and zero tolerance policies have a wide range of enforcement. Oh my gosh, like, how do I not know this? How have I not heard this story? That's terrible and a big deal. Wow. That's crazy. Going back to the story. So I had a comment on here. I don't feel like Lanai's family would be Christians, but I couldn't figure out where to go with this besides that. So I'm curious if you were, and this plus the like leave room for Jesus stuff, if you were like, why is there Christianity in my secular high school story? Or if it was fine.
Oh yeah, so this is him. That's where he swerves. I'm curious, this is a very small thing, but this is actually along the lines of the question I just asked. So I went with the line, all of us silently agreed not to mention that was, in fact, a blessing. Would you have liked it more as, all of us silently agreed not to mention that we thanked God for his mercy on that day? Meredith says, well, Christian or not, the story of Cain is pretty well known, so it made sense to me. That's very fair. They go, honestly, assume the swerve was to avoid someone coming at them. Oh, gotcha. How was that phrased? Yeah, I just said I swerved a little too wide, and the guy behind me honked. Yeah, so it was meant to be just, like, he's making a normal, like, turn or like, lane change, but he just, like, goes a little wide. This, I don't think anybody else found it as funny as I did, but this is still one of my favorite lines in the piece. Like, I'm not an edgelord. Well, you proclaimed after school yesterday, loudly and hastily, might I add, that there was no justice in the world. I wanted ice cream, and there wasn't any left, just because I was in detention, you know? Oh yeah, I think someone was asking how he got the elephant toothpaste in there. Granted, it was just, you know, it was just an idea of something silly that I thought of, but I think he probably, like, rigged it up so that the chemicals were, like, in, I don't know, jars or something inside the locker, and so when he opened the locker, it would, like, pour the chemicals into each other and, like, start, you know, start the reaction. Oh yeah, I remember. I think Spectre had a question of who their foster mother was. If it's not Morgana, I didn't have anybody specific. It was just like generic foster mother who was not good to them. Did you like the addition of Moirai, or do you feel like she never shows up again? So, like, why are we... I mean, I guess she shows up in the sense that she told August not to suspend them, or, you know, to be generous on Valentine's Day. But I'm not sure if it would be better to remove her. I kind of went back and forth. Also, I forget what exactly this was, but I tried to look up names for her dog, and I think Lema is, like, the name of the Fates in, like, a different mythology or something like that. I know it had some meaning.
Oh, hi. It's a kitty.
I don't know if I'm gonna make her blind in canon, but that's kind of a theme of, like, the blind Fates, and so... It's something I explored here, at least. My school had no metal detectors. A lot of the rednecks would have their pocket knives. Yeah, my school also didn't have metal detectors. Spectre, we used our fists at my school, and a javelin. But that was only one time. What time? Marks. I totally love the ice cream line. I'm glad to hear that. Mako, with a fluffin' pencil. What is that in reference to? Spectre says fair. Honestly, I was just curious. It didn't detract from the story to have her be unnamed. Very fair. I don't know about Lima, but Lamia is a character in Greek mythology. Gotcha. Who are they in Greek mythology? yeah, and I wasn't sure if I should take out the suicide joke, but again, it's just kind of like, I feel like that is the kind of jokes that high schoolers make, and the kind of joke that he would make. So I was curious about that. I was kind of curious about, like, I mean, I kind of asked it with the swearing question, but I was kind of curious about, like, the vulgarity of the story overall, that I just kind of, like I said, where is it? Yeah, like, balloons, boobs, and banners, like, it just straight up is, like, honest with it. And I'm curious if that worked for you, if you were like, I would have liked it to be I would like it to be a little more kosher. I'd like it to be a little cleaner. Oh yeah, did you get the image here, that they're all like, oh, like, how many roses did you get? Like, look at my cards. And then Morgana just, like, slaps a gruesome picture on the projector, and everyone's like, okay, back to class, you know? With a pencil is a John Wick reference. Gotcha. Long story short, Lamia was a woman who Zeus got involved with, and Hera cursed her into a reptile monster thing who hunts and eats children. In some versions, she perpetually weeps for her own lost children. Oh boy, those Greek myths and their tragedy. Mako, when my father's friend, we'll call him Tony, who was in high school, Tony's friend pulled out a knife in class like, oh hey, check what I picked up. And Tony said, why are you carrying a knife? You're not gonna stab anybody, you wimp. So he jabbed the knife into Tony's thigh. Tony went to the teacher like, look, he just stabbed me. And the teacher looked at his leg and said, you'll live, sit down. What? Like, this is real? This is not just like an anecdote that your dad told you? Oh my gosh. I mean, like, or not just like an anecdote that he told you that was untrue. I wasn't sure. I was thinking of calling him Dr. Franklin, but Frankenstein is a surname, you know, today, and so I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it'd be better to go with the more normal name or just stick with his actual name, because it can be an actual name, despite probably still getting looks in real life, too. You're definitely getting. I'm sick of hearing about romance from Morgana. I don't know. Like, that's fair. Like, that's fair that that's how that reads. I guess, like I said, I just meant it more like, okay, we done? I like, really? Like, we have more exciting stuff to talk about. Like violence, you know, rather than like, oh, these lovebirds. Everybody else is in love, but not me. Rather just like, okay, like, you care about roses, I care about the violence, you know? Nika says, I heard that from Tony himself. Oh my gosh. Ghoulish, if I remember, one of my uncle's classmates got hit in the head with a glass bottle and died. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it should be, like, you know, I'm only writing this one moment in time, not, you know, a whole story of years. And so I wasn't sure if it made sense that Lister and Peter knew that Savion was in love with Lanai, but they didn't say anything. Because, like, he's probably been like this for years, and it's probably, like, something that they've known, you know, in those years. And so
but when I wanted to change it, but I just couldn't figure out how to do so. So I'm curious if that line was, that bit was like incongruous. Oh boy, what? Oh, the Calling in My Skin song. Oh, wild. Oh yeah, did you have a question about this on the story marks? I think I remember you did, but I don't remember what you said about the tongues visiting each other's mouths. Yeah, I wasn't sure if like I don't know, I liked the little joke of like that's kind of a flag with the right next to each other, and then well, what kind of flag? I think maybe I should have added like what kind of flag? Like, you know, a pirate flag, you know, the Jolly Roger, the Italian flag, a red one, you know. But I wasn't sure if that was a cringy one. Do you think it would have worked better here to say, have Lister be like, I think what he means to say is, he'll be there, more definitively, rather than he'll consider it? Curious if the memory scene was a reveal or a gut punch or anything like that. And I already asked about the magic stuff. And one of the things that I personally was really proud of with this story is like I write a lot. I have a lot of writing. I have a lot in my head and a lot on the page, but I struggle to complete larger things. And so I was really proud of like how big this is and how, at least in my opinion, how complete it feels. That like we mentioned Billy at the beginning and then Billy is part of the climax at the end. That it all comes around and stuff. So I was happy with that personally. And then, you know, does what Lanai says at the end, does that feel like a reveal, like a gut punch? Does that, did that work for you? Did it feel like a good wrap up and everything? I do recall Death Set had a comment here of that this line just felt like it broke up the, you know, genuine seriousness of the moment too much. So I'm curious what you guys, what you other guys, what you guys thought of that. If you also were like, yeah, that I think that was a little too funny too fast, or if you were like, no, I like the levity of it. This also is a last minute addition. do you like do you think I should have just ended on Lanai saying this? I also could have had Lanai say something like, you know, oh, and who said I didn't want you to grow my ass, or something like that. And I'm curious if you would have liked that better. Mark, so it wasn't so much a question as much as I feel finding tongue kissing disgusting. Might be something they need to talk about. Yes. I'll consider it. He means yes. Well, the problem is that Savion wasn't the one who said it. Oh, I guess that's what you're proposing, to say, to have Savion say, I'll consider it, and Lystera say he means yes. That might have worked better. No. Mako, what? How's this Mark Lore? I'm only learning now. Oh, wait, I misread that, yeah. Yeah, like, I mean... like, I don't know, I might have to think about it more, but, that is the intention in canon, that, like, he likes kissing, but doesn't like French kissing, and definitely, like, that is the kind of thing that she'd probably just start doing, and he'd be like, wait, what is happening here? But I don't know, cause, like, I don't know if some, you know, if some people... If you like kissing, if you will inherently like French kissing, I don't know if that's like always the case. Spectre has to go to bed, but thank you so much for being here. And I didn't think you'd make it for the whole story, so I was really glad to have you for all of it. Really appreciate that. Spectre says, thank you for doing the stream, Kaylie, and thank you for having me. Aw, thank you for coming. Ghoulish, I find that making out is gross unless you're attracted to the person you're making out with. Well, are you talking about making out specifically, or like kissing in general? Because I feel like that's true of kissing in general, that you're gonna be grossed out by kissing somebody unless you like them. Mako, that could have been fun, and maybe she'd mean it, but perhaps a little early for that. Era says, I found the levity of the moment helped break the tension in a way that made space for the final line, which I thought worked just fine, and I felt it brought good closure to the story. Well, that's really nice. I feel like it might have worked better if Lanai, the person who just made the emotional speech, broke the tension rather than the person she was talking to. That's fair. Documents. So if you want to make a comedic break work and you have another section where similar wit is used, it'll create a pattern and make it more natural. Yeah, you did arrive late. The whole story is that wit. Yeah, documents are going blind. Oh no, that's happened to me, the French kissing thing. What? Oh, like somebody doing that to you and you being like, what are we doing? Ghoulish says, nah, I just wouldn't kiss them. Yeah, if you didn't like them, you wouldn't kiss them, exactly. Well, if I had another another snooze to use, I would have, because there's the ad, and I'm, like, ready to go. But I think most of you are subscribed, so I think I'll just, like, do my outro anyways, but... Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate you sitting down to listen to my story and answer my questions. If you have any more thoughts on it, I'd love to hear them, so you can feel free to DM me them or like say them in the comments in the forum and everything. So yeah, thank you so much for coming and for being here. And so we have a good supper and a good evening. Thank you very much. The pushing her tongue into my mouth thing. 0 out of 10. Very fair. Very fair. Yeah, so it's been a good time. I hope the story was good and enjoyable. Aw, thank you, Documancer. I really appreciate that. I don't remember if Documancer is, oh yeah, you are subbed. But yeah, thank you. I would really appreciate that for sure. But yeah, so I will see you all on Saturday then. Thank you for joining me for this little extra stream. Is there anybody you would like me to raid? Yeah, I'm getting things set up for the spring stuff, so working that out. But yeah.
I'm gonna show you the cat. It's a kitty.
don't get any raid suggestions, then I might just get going because I am late to dinner.
Baby, are you okay?
I don't know. The Double Danger Dad is streaming. He's not writing though. Well, if that's the only suggestion, I can still go with him. What's he up to? What's he doing?
Kitty, 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 kitty.
Also, I don't remember Dad being part of the name before. Oh no, it's like D double blind D before or something. Okay, I've got to get working, so I'm not gonna follow the raid regardless. Playing the Long Dark. I assume that is a video game. Not heard of it. But sure, we don't have any other suggestions. Why not? Okie dokie. Alright, yeah, that picture does look different, but whatevs. But thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate that. I'll wait for the ad to actually end. There we go. Thank you all for joining me. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.